Well, I'd like to take a quick look at a plant database application. We've designed it to hold information on your personal knowledge of plant species that you work with in your area, and we've called it SPPDB, short for Species Database. And I'm looking here at the user interface. That's jargon for how it looks and how it works. It consists of a series of records, so that in this case I'm storing all the information that I have and that I use when dealing with a design which requires a small tree, say with yellow flowers, that will grow in elevated hills area, but also down on the plains. That's the area that I work in, and that's how I categorize my localities and so on. But let's look closely at it. The database holds what I call a series of records, so we can store the botanical name here, Acacia pycnantha, then its common name, golden wattle, then the species family. It belongs to the family Fabaceae. If you want to change the family, it used to be called Leguminosae, but we have a drop-down list, and you can edit the contents of that list. So if I wanted to use a family name Leguminosae, I could go to Basic Data, Species Family, and I could just add a record Leguminosae, type it in, and then apply that to this particular plant, give it a family. You also got the opportunity to store the sort of average height and width, but again you can change the information that you got in there quite easily from editing that drop-down list. Now I refer to this as a small tree or perhaps large shrub, but you might want to, I've called it tree colon small versus tree colon medium. But you can again go into basic data and plant type, and you could add or edit. So if we wanted to say this is a large tree, you could, and take the colon out, you could do it, and everything in the database would be automatically updated. So lots of records, landscape uses, flower colour, and so on. We can have a space for a bit of custom information. You might have the name of a nursery that stocks this particular plant, and the URL or universal indicator or website for a copy of that image is stored down there. So if I clicked download, it would download from this particular website. It's one of our websites for SPP. But if I wanted to store more than one image, just click there, and there I'm looking at a habit of the particular tree. So we operate within, that's just, if you like, one record with a series of fields describing various characteristics of that species. I can move to the next one, and here the next one in this quite small database is Acer palmatum. It's one that I would use, and when I need a courtyard tree or a Japanese garden feel, and I could put in that custom list if we wanted to, suitable for Japanese, or put it down here in the comments area as I've done. So we can scroll forward. Here's an example of it being used in a little courtyard, and there's a rather nice example taken at the Chelsea show. So we move to record 3. Notice how it's going to take a small time as we scroll through to download, but once it's downloaded and into my computer, and I'll go back one, next time I go to that image, it will, it's this one, it'll download very quickly indeed as I move through. For the first time there will be hesitation as the image downloads. So that's how you deal in the simplest possible way with the interface for SPP dB. If I wanted to find, we know our first entry was acacia. Just type the name in and quickly the record is found. But a more useful thing to do is to click to find view. At this point I can say, the plant type, let me tick that, and we'll say, I hope we've got one now, I'll say show me the medium shrubs, and I click find, and there's a list of all the entries in the database that I've categorized. And remember, this is personal information about medium shrubs, and I can actually export from there. That list can be exported into computer-aided design software like gCADPlus. It's just that list is just a text file list, so I'll close from there. Whoops, I'll cancel from there as well, and then go back to the edit view. So you can slice and dice the entries in your own database. And here we're running under crossover on a Mac, but it certainly works very well in the Windows environment. And that's one table in the database. We have a number of tables. You might want to store information about what we would call hardscape. So here's an example of modern style benches with angular sides and so on. And we can categorize it, put all sorts of information. Any information you put in the comments can be searched for. Here's another one. See, it's downloading an image. It's some paving that I took when I was in Auckland in New Zealand, and it appealed to me as an example of cobblestone paving. So the whole idea here is for you to store images and information that you're familiar with and that you can vouch for in your own work, rather than relying on internet searches for images, which are always questionable as far as using them in your design work. So we can take that image name, copy the path and paste it into computer-aided design work that we're doing. You might also store in another table. This is an example of a design, computer-aided design here, and I want to load that image. No, I can't. I will need to load that particular bush regeneration mix straight into the database. I'll cancel from there because I'm not able to pick it up quickly and easily. Here's one for a logo. So I've got the image, and I brought this across from a Windows machine, which is why the path is in that form. So I'm looking for one called JK logo, and I imagine it's not on the Mac, so I'd have to bring it across. So there blocks, and you can also have notes. So here, for example, is an environmental impact statement. So it's a statement I want to include in lots and lots of design work. So I can simply click in there, Command A in this case, and then Command C, copy and paste it. So let's go back to our species. So it's a database. It's what's called a MySQL database, and it has a series of tables, and in each table there are a series of records, and what it enables you to do is search and find. So if you're looking for, you're doing some design work, you happen to be working in an elevated site up in the hills area in the Mediterranean climate, it's quite cold, and you want a yellow flowering small tree that will do the job for you. You might even want a custom area for regeneration or whatever. Here I've got landscape users regeneration. We can do a quick search and we'll then be able to, it just jogs our memory, and then when we're working on the table we can work in our CAD software. So you can make all sorts of lists and then import that list and use it in CAD software. So I hope that gives you a quick overview of SPPDB, or Species Database. Well, to conclude our discussion, the capacity of this database is huge. Here's one with 211 entries in it. We've pushed it to over 500, but that's reaching the limit of my knowledge of species. So I don't think you're going to overfill the plant database that you create.